Well, good morning there, Americans. How are you? Don't you know me? I'm your native son. It's the Boston Cowboy here, casting out my rays of life from a beautiful New England. And today I bring you a Mr. Alex Krainer. He's on this here show, host of Dialogue Works, hosted by Anima Alcourse. And Alex Krainer, he talks a lot of sense, no doubt. Um, Probably because he was not raised in the United States here. He wasn't even raised in the Western Hemisphere. Um, so he understands and has a bird's eye view of what's going on here. And he had a very interesting start to his career. Uh, he was born in Croatia, and he was a market analyst. So he has that analytical mind that looks at things from why is this happening, what's the cause of this, what's going to be the effect of that, so to speak. At least that's how I think an analyst mind works. And he is an author. He's a former hedge fund manager. He's based in Monaco, and he's renowned for his expertise in commodities trading and geopolitical economic analysis, which he is we're gonna get a little taste of here in a minute. And he was raised under the socialist regime of the former Yugoslavia. He joined a student exchange program at the age of 17, moved to the U.S., and completed high school. Subsequently pursued higher education in business administration and several American universities. He holds an MBA in finance from Schiller International University. With over 2 decades of experience in financial and commodity future markets, Krainer founded Krainer Analytics, a firm focused on market analytics and trend following strategies, including his proprietary I system trend following technology, whatever the heck that is. Uh, no clue. His career highlight includes he was a trader, a researcher, a hedge fund manager with a particular emphasis on oil trading, inflationary risk, and commodity markets. And he definitely is a familiar face on a lot of these geopolitical programs. And he does have a pretty interesting viewpoint, so to speak. And he brings up a lot of good points that I don't hear other the usual geopolitical analysts make. So, and most of these geopolitical analysts, believe it or not, are like ex uh, Department of the State Department or FBI analyst or military, something to do with the government. This guy has none of that. Nothing to do with the United States, except for being educated here, which was smart on his part, no doubt. And yeah, so he did author a book which is called Mastering Uncertainty in Commodities Trading back in 2015, which has been highly rated in its field and draws on his extensive research to provide insights into navigating volatile markets, which we have right now. We do have a very, very volatile market. I mean, hell, everything's tied to oil. And with the with the gas on and the gas off and the gas on and the gas off and speeding up and slowing down and stopping and speeding up and slowing down and what have you. Everything is being topsy-turvy, and it's a very volatile market right now. But anyway, let's listen to what he has to say here, Mr. Alex Krainer, and uh, and then we'll come back with a little bit of critique on his viewpoint. Take it away, Alex.
Yes, yes, I'm getting better.
Let me start, Alex, with what has happened in the West Asia and the situation between Iran and the United States. It seems, as it was mentioned by U.S. ambassador to Israel, Mike Huckabee, says that Donald Trump has decided not to bomb Iran, but to put pressure to bankrupt Iran. This is the main goal right now. The blockade is there, putting economic pressure on Iran. And on the part of Iranians, they have the same sort of strategy. They believe that they can outlast Donald Trump. And this is what's going on between the two sides. We don't know if there would be any attack this weekend. Maybe they're going to do something. The invasion of the Hark Island, in my opinion, is still on the table in Washington. They're thinking of it because one of the last thing they can do with the invasion, with putting pressure on Iran, would be the Hark Island. How successful that could be is in question. And we have the new architecture, we have the new military pact in the region, which is Pakistan, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia. Go ahead and your understanding of what's going on.
Well, I think in a nutshell, the United States sustained a strategic defeat in the region and they cannot accept it. So we have the process of rearranging the chairs on the deck chairs on the Titanic, so that the music can keep on playing until the vessel capsizes. Invading the Karg Island would be even dumber than starting this war in the first place. I do understand that the U.S. troops in the region are all gung-ho. They can't wait to go risk their lives in a war for Israel. So the morale seems to be really, really high, according to the reports. Apart from soldiers, having to be kept from jumping overboard to commit suicide. Apart from that, everything is awesome. So I think it's just a strange process of perpetuating denial. Like we're going to take Karg Island, or we're going to destroy their energy infrastructure. We're going to.
So right off the bat, I got a little piece of information I haven't heard anywhere. Basically, he's saying that troop morale is so low on those their ships that they're trying to keep soldiers from jumping over and committing suicide. And we're talking about the United States military. We're not talking about the Russian military or the Ukrainian or the China or the North Korea military. We're talking about the United States. So that's an interesting fact that I think we might need to research. Because, anybody can just throw out any old fact, and we don't accept that here. We listen to it with an open mind, and then we do our research on it. And that's a pretty big fact. That would change a lot of people's view of this here whole war if that was known, I believe. And I have never heard anybody speaking about that. So that's an interesting. And he couched it in irony, which adds a little humor to it. But at the same time, the message gets through that it's not really funny. And what he's saying is the exact opposite. And then he put an exclamation point on it just to drive it home in case of those people that didn't get the irony that they have to keep people from jumping over the side of that ship on that Abraham Lincoln ship out there in the Gulf that have been sitting there for almost a year now, running low on everything and morale, troop morale. So that's interesting. Let's see what else he's gonna say. But right off the bat, it piqued my interest. It does. It piqued my interest, Mr. Alex.
Bankrupt them. You don't have the ability to do any of that. So it's lost. Stop rearranging the deck chairs. Accept the defeat and correct the course of your policy. Of course, none of that is going to happen, but a rational person would have to come to this conclusion, except In this case, you have something of a gambler's ruin. Gambler's ruin is when a gambler at a gambling table realizes that he has lost his fortune. The impulse is to keep gambling in the hope that somehow the next move you might regain some of your lost fortune. Um, Accepting defeat here would be devastating, not to the American people, immediately, but it would be devastating to the whole ruling establishment. Because part of the importance of the Western Asia is that it's a very resource-rich region, which has been mostly subjugated to Western financial interests for many decades now, even over a century. They have made very significant investments there, and those investments have generated very significant cash flow that always flowed towards the Western money center banks, because they all had to sell their exports in US dollars, and all those dollars were being recycled in the West. So this sustained the Western financial banking system. It also was recycled in large part to funding the US government. And this is now coming to an end. You mentioned the new military pact. I don't know, we shouldn't call it an alliance, I guess, but let's call it a military cooperation pact between Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Pakistan. And my impression immediately is that it's a strange kind of pact, because you have two credible military powers and one pipsqueak. So why would Turkey and Pakistan sign a military pact with Saudi Arabia? It's not like Saudi Arabia is going to come to their aid if India invades Pakistan, or if Greece goes to war against Turkey. I think what happens instead is that the Saudis have understood beyond the shadow of doubt that the protection racket they've been paying for in hundreds of billions of dollars to the United States doesn't work, that the United States cannot protect them. And then at the same time, they have very large US dollar balances in Western financial institutions, as well as the sovereign wealth fund. And so they need to use this otherwise, and they need they need other military powers to provide them that protection. And so I think this was probably done at the initiative of the Saudi Arabia. And I think that Turkey and Pakistan have a financial interest in this pact.
Okay, he does bring up another good point in that for years, that's how the financial system has been working, where the Gulf states in the Middle East have used our military technology, know-how, expertise, and has been paying basically protection to the United States. Good old mafia shakedown, there's nothing new with that. Any powerful nation or family that's how they operate, right? If you need us to protect you, we will come and protect you. But on the flip side of that coin, you see, the protection that they are promising is basically a protection fee for them not attacking, for them not stirring up the pot over there to let them get attacked, not egging on the enemy and creating a reason for this to occur. I mean, that's how the mafia do it. Basically, you pay us and we won't attack your store and trash it. And we basically are security. But if you don't pay us, we're going to come and we're going to smash it. And we're going to remove the security and then we're gonna let the other guys go in and just take care of business. Oh, now you want to pay, so we're gonna double that fee now, and we'll put the security back for you, okay? And by the way, that their new product that you're gonna sell, that that Coca-Cola you're gonna sell, you're gonna have to get it through us now. Yeah, if you don't get it through us, then we can't be responsible for protecting you. Then no, you have to buy that through us, and then we'll protect you. And with that product come a protection fee and an insurance fee, and that's basically how the work. I mean, anybody who know anything about anybody or anything can figure that much out. So the fact that he ain't saying anything new here, but the fact that it's basically coming to a head now where the United States is saying, hey, we don't want to do that type of thing no more for whatever reason, or the store, which is Saudi Arabia, in the oil cartel, Middle East oil cartel, OPEC, decided they don't want to play ball. They don't want to pay that protection fee no more. So that's why. Or maybe Israel want to get in on that little protection fee. Who knows? But he does speak about that they're trying to come up with some type of alliance to protect themselves. Protect themselves from who? From what? Why would Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, Turkey need to team up together and protect themselves? From who and from what? Let's listen on to what Mr. Alex got to say.
But the very fact that they went ahead with this, that the United States was not involved in negotiating this military arrangement, and that the United States didn't comment on it, they didn't say anything, suggests that the United States is terribly embarrassed by this, and they have no answer. And it's a very clear signal that they have lost credibility and that they have lost leverage in that region, which means that it's a massive step in the direction of American eventual eviction from the region. And I saw a lot of initial interpretations on like the next day. Many people interpreted it as like, aha, there again, all these people are now going to make themselves a bulwark for protecting American interests and Israel in that region. Because, at least formally, Pakistan is still an ally of the United States, and Turkey is also an ally of the United States and a member of NATO. And Saudi Arabia is also an ally of the United States. But I don't think that is correct. I think that's because all three of these nations have shared the same common threat to their national security, and that's Israel. So Israel has been actively and repeatedly undermining Pakistan already since the 1980s. They even had these operations together with India to try to destroy Pakistan's nuclear program. Israel brought their jets to India to take off from there. India gave a name to this operation. It was called Operation Shakti. I think it was maybe at some point in the 1980s, maybe. But the Pakistani ISI got the information about this and then issued a threat to Israel and issued a threat to India. And they, India didn't like the prospect of going to an all-out war against Pakistan, so they just kind of withdrew from that operation, and then Israel had to drop it because they had no way physically to send jets against Pakistan without having India as their aircraft carrier. And then they tried the same, I think, in the late 1990s, 1998 or something like that. I might be mistaken about the dates, but they tried again and again. Pakistani intelligence got wind of the developments, and then they went public with this in the United States and in the major network, and that killed the whole deal. But basically, and then just about a year ago, the Israeli officials were saying that when we're done with Iran, Pakistan is next. We cannot have a Muslim nation with a nuclear program that has to be destroyed.
Now we're getting to the meat of this here interview. And this again is a little bit of piece of news that I don't hear anybody else really talking about. And that he basically is reiterating the fact that Israel has come out at one point and said after we get done with Iran, if they get done with Iran, so they're already projecting that there's going to be a point in time where they're going to be done with Iran. And when they are, they're not going to stop at Iran. Next, they're going to go to Pakistan, they just said. That's another thing that we may need to look up there. Is that the case? Time will tell, people. We shall see. But that is a very interesting piece of news that after Iran is going to be the next level, the next boss will be Pakistan. So the fight will continue, right? We think that maybe once we get this whole shebang over in Iran, we can be finished with it. Don't sound like that to me. I think after that, we're going to go maybe to Pakistan. Again, after that, they're already talking about looking at Turkey. Israel already thinking about bombing Turkey. I saw that in the news today. So maybe he got a little bit of a wind or something. Or maybe he just pay attention to things that nobody else really pay attention to. But very interesting, Mr. Alex. Let's continue.
Turkey has its own issues with Israel. Even though the Erdogan government, they talk a lot, they cooperate actually with Israel, and they supply them with fuel and God knows what else. But the Israeli officials, maybe not in government, but around the government, close to the government, have been saying that Turkey is the new Iran, the new greatest threat. And Naftali Bennett was saying that they're preparing to go to war against Turkey. And they do share an area where they both have territorial ambitions, which is Syria. And then Saudi Arabia is a large part of Saudi Arabia is envisioned as part of the Greater Israel Project. So Pakistan, Turkey, and also the Greater Israel Project also includes part of the Turkish territory. So all three of these nations have the same common threat, and that is Israel. So the idea that they would create a military alliance in order to protect Israel just doesn't stand up to logic. And as far as Iran is concerned, I believe that even though Iran is not part of that agreement, it would be too delicate and too complicated. At this point, I'm convinced that Turkey, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia, all three of them, can come to a constructive understanding with Iran, and there's no need to prepare an alliance for some future war against Iran. I don't think that's the idea, and I don't think that anybody really wants that. So I think it's an alliance that is foreshadowing the eviction of the United States and the United Kingdom from Western Asia. And it's
Okay. In regards to the earlier statement he said about U.S. Navy and Marine sailors committing suicide over there, There is a report, believe it or not. Here, the USS Abraham Lincoln sailors tried to jump overboard amid extended deployment reports. Aircraft carrier's crew in ninth month at sea has spent a record 250 days consecutively without making land. Now that's a record. We have these poor sailors on their ship. 9 months, people. 9 months. That's damn near torture. They're out there on the sea. They got nothing to look at but the water in the sky and maybe another ship passing by. And that's it. The mind go crazy if they keep looking at that day in, day out. Not only that, even if they don't look at, just the fact of knowing that they're out there in the middle of this big old tub and anything could happen. There's no land in sight. I think the human mind and the human body need that little comfort of a land under their feet, right? Just the fact that they know there's no land anywhere near is enough to drive you crazy. 250 days, 9 months, people, we're talking. 9 months. So, military families and Congress members are sounding the alarm about an intensifying mental health crisis on board the USS Abraham Lincoln, as its 5,000 sailors and Marines endure a record-breaking deployment at sea tied to the war with Iran. 2 leading specialist military papers, the Navy Times and the Stars and Stripes, are reporting that there have been multiple attempts by sailors to jump overboard as poor conditions and mental stresses on the Lincoln reached the breaking point. The crew is in its 9 months at sea and has spent 250 days consecutively without making land, a record for an aircraft carrier in modern times. Worried families vented their anxieties about loved ones aboard the Lincoln at an emotional town hall meeting with Navy leaders in San Diego last Thursday. Wow. One spouse among the 200 or so family members said that her husband had texted her that day saying he hopes he doesn't wake up tomorrow. This is a husband that's on that their ship, 250 days, and he just texted back to his wife, I hope I don't wake up tomorrow. I can't take this no more. We don't know when we're gonna ever end this little here voyage we're on. It's indefinite, people. There's no end. There's no end. These poor sailors out there, you know, I can't imagine it. I cannot imagine. Unless you kind of a little mental and insane and like like a sadomasochist and you think this is some type of test or trial you're going through. I don't think anybody there on that ship want to be there anymore. Period. And to have them stuck out there like this is it's a sad thing. It's a sad thing. You know? It's a sad thing. Never mind what they're doing. Never mind it's not even declared a war. It's just like an open-ended, never-ending nightmare of a voyage. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Well, when do you think you're coming home? I don't know. They're not telling us. There's no end sight. And then if we get done with Iran and we got to go to Pakistan, it could be another 9 months. Wow. I can't imagine it. I can't. So what he did say is true. He did say that that's true. that they're trying to keep soldiers from committing suicide out there. I wonder how they do that. They pair them up. You got a buddy system, a buddy like in second, third grade. Keep an eye on your buddy now. Like that's how bad it is. They got to treat them like second and third graders. Everybody hold their hands. Keep an eye on your buddy. Make sure that they haven't jumped over the side of that their ship. Wow. Let's see what else he got to say. He bringing up some good points now. Let's see what else he got to say.
It's also maybe the beginning of a new security architecture in the region that's going to be compatible with what Russia and China have been trying to do with Iran. There's no changing the fact that the 800-pound gorilla in the region is Iran, and that everybody's going to have to reckon with that. Pakistan and Turkey. And I'm sure that they will not have difficulty to coming to an understanding, to basically creating peace for that region for the first time since the British got involved.
I think the point you've mentioned about Saudi Arabia is so important, because Saudi Arabia is in dire need, in my opinion. They need to improve the relationship with Iran. And that's not going to happen before putting an end to the conflict with Yemenis. In the latest announcement statement of the Iran National Security Council, it mentions the MOU was, they mentioned in the first clause of the MOU, they mentioned Lebanon and all fronts. But right now they're putting out what do they mean with the all fronts? It goes to Palestine. It goes to Palestine, Lebanon, Iraq, and Yemen. It's not going to be, the time is not is somehow complicating the whole issue. I assume Donald Trump had some sort of opportunity after signing the MOU to reduce the tensions. But right now, as time goes by, Iran is doubling down. I don't see any sort of sign in Iran, in the Iranian government to back down. They're just going forward. And Saudi Arabia in that calculation, Saudi Arabia has a crucial and important role, because they are in the center of this problem with Yemen, with the siege on Yemen. If they back down, if they communicate with Yemenis, with the Iraqis, that's going to be a huge change. And I see the role of Turkey and Pakistan coming together. I see these two countries influencing Saudi Arabia more than Saudi Arabia influencing these two countries.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right about that, Nima. I'm going to speculate a little bit here, but I think that the arrangement also has its financial dimension. As I said, the Saudis have a great deal of money in the West. I don't know. It's going to be over $1 trillion. I actually looked it up at some point, but I looked at all the Gulf kingdoms together. So I think that the largest chunk belongs to UAE, but then Saudi Arabia is right next. And so it's going to be close to $2 trillion between their trade balances and their sovereign assets funds. And you know that the West has no trouble freezing people's assets if they decide that, if the Saudi king's misbehaving, then you're locked out of your money. So now, signing a defense agreement with two countries that are formally friends and allies to the United States means that Saudi Arabia is going to have to probably be paying something for this protection. And so there's going to be a financial aspect to this arrangement, which means that the Saudis are going to be transferring a good chunk of those billions to Turkey and to Pakistan. And I wouldn't exclude the possibility that they're going to make an arrangement where Turkey and Pakistan are going to hold some of that money for them. So let's say that the cost of protection is $1 billion a month, but the Saudis are going to be paying them $3 billion, and the $2 billion is going to be laundered back to the Pakistanis. Because if Saudi Arabia today said to Scott Bessent, right, we don't quite trust you holding our assets, so would you please be kind to transfer that money back to us or to Pakistan or to Turkey or to China? Bessent would say, well, how about we send you some F-16s, F-35s, soybeans, whatever, rather than, they're not going to give them the money back.
Yeah, he's probably right there. He's probably right. I mean, that's what this government has been doing, right? Basically, park your money in our financial system, and we will give you rights to purchase stuff from our military, or purchase our military, or purchase protection. That's what it boils down to. Park your money with us, service our debt, and in return, we will allow you to purchase the technology of our military industrial complex. We will allow you to ask for help of our military, and we will send our military to you. But that request need to be a good request, and you need to make sure that request come with a little gift, so to speak, on top of parking your money with us. So yeah, I mean, the shakedown is going to continue. The shakedown has been in effect for a very long time now, so nothing new there. And he right. If these countries and the king and the royal family say, we think we want to take our money back now, I don't think they're going to let that happen. They'll come up with any excuse. Well, yeah, no, it's too much of a security risk to transfer all that money. Sorry, we can't do it. Besides, where we gonna put it? What are you gonna do with all that money, right? You want us just to write you a check for what? $10 trillion? Like what do you want us to do? We can't send it through the wire. That's a big security risk. It could get lost. If we send it to the wire, to you, to any account, there's a good chance it's probably going to get lost. So you best just leave it here, right? You best just leave it here. We're telling you, it's going to get lost if we send it to you through the wire, and we'll do that. Yeah, we can do that. But we're telling you, it's not going to be received on their end of the other wire. It's going to get lost. It's a big security risk. Where it's going to go, I don't know. Who knows? That's on you. You're the one that requests the withdrawal. You need to take care of that and follow up where it goes. But we can tell you that wherever you're going to send it, it's not going to get there. So you might as well just leave it here. That's it. That's how they play that game. That's how they play that game. They don't come out and tell you no. They give you in so many words and make it known that it ain't gonna happen. And you just understand, okay. Yep. Lesson learned, right? Lesson learned. Expensive, but yeah, lesson learned. But anyway, we might dig into some more of his videos. He's a good. He come up with some good ideas. I like his analysis, so to speak, and that's why I wanted to put him on and talk about what he's discussing, because I think he got a very interesting perception on what's going on. Interesting viewpoint. Right? Interesting angle. Right? Interesting overlook of geopolitics in this here day and age. So yeah. Anyway, that's all I got for you today. Stay safe, stay free, and by golly, don't believe everything you see. Boston Cowboy here. Adios.